Am I the asshole for tossing a blanket over my Bill's head when he said he didn't want to see my baby nurse? Sorry if the title is wordy. I have a little baby, I'm running on little sleep lol. My wife and I had our second baby 2 months ago, 9 weeks, and as with our first I am breastfeeding. The first time round my family were meh about me nursing. I was much more conservative and covered up, until we had a dangerous situation where my daughter overheated and breathed milk in. Very scary, she's fine now, though. Anyway, this time around I have warded off all types of covers. I am boob-free and my daughter has a much easier time nursing. My family formula feed, so this is all new for them. My brother-in-law is less happy with my recent confidence. We all got invited out for my dad's birthday dinner, and obviously I took my little ones with me. While there my baby got hungry and I fed her, as one does. Afterwards my brother-in-law mentioned how, things like that, make him uncomfortable, and asked if I'd cover up if baby nursed while eating. I told him no, and we ordered. Food got there and she got hungry again, so I popped a lady out to feed her, why no? He made another comment about not wanting to see a boob while he was eating. I was pretty annoyed and so I apologized with a smile and said something along the lines of, "Sorry, I'll just get this covered for you," and flung the blanket I had on my lap over his head. I'm still proud of myself for managing it, to be honest. Even if it was an asshole move, it was a damn good throw. A few people outside our family started laughing, and in his flurry to get it off, dropped it into his meal and had to reorder, so we all ate while he had to wait for his food again. I made things pretty tense, but no one mentioned it again. Afterwards my dad told me I was immature and he wouldn't be inviting me to a family meal again if that was how I was going to act. Following that everyone is upset, some even going as far as to call me a bad mother because I was petty. I personally am not super sure I was in the wrong, as my wife nor anyone we've told thinks so, but they all tend to be quite nice to me post-baby due to hormones. I also can't tell if it's my hormones making me feel like a shitty person. Obviously I feel bad about making him wait for his food, but that wasn't directly my fault. He was pretty humiliated with people laughing at him as well, but I do kind of feel it was deserved. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You offered him the covering he requested. I'm a Jewish person and could be wrong, but conservative Christians love some Jesus. And what was that Jesus said about, "If thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee," in relationship to seeing a woman's body when you don't want to? A blanket seems a far more liberal interpretation than a blinding and very kind. Feel free to offer up the conservative Christian recommendation should they perhaps desire further alternatives. Not the asshole. He can direct his attention where he'd like. If he doesn't want to see a minuscule flash of titty, he can avert his eyes. He doesn't get to infringe upon your rights because he can't handle himself. Also, that is a legendary move that I, as a breastfeeding mom, have only dreamt of doing. Haha, absolutely not the asshole, and I am laughing picturing this. Also, how dare your dad call you the immature one when your brother-in-law has the mentality of a teenage boy? This is golden. Have my poor Mons Award first place medal. Not the asshole. I'm sick of ultra-sensitive Oz shaming breastfeeding. That you managed to humiliate him is just a juicy bonus. Not the asshole. As a new mum myself, even though I'm bottle feeding, he can grow up. If he doesn't want to see boobs, he can look away. I guarantee he won't like to hear a hungry baby crying more than seeing a boob. Not the asshole. Lul, this was great. Absolute baller move. Am I the asshole for refusing to wear my engagement ring on the left hand? This sounds so stupid and childish. Maybe it's the stress of the past months planning the engagement, but my girlfriend and I got into a huge argument about this. We are getting engaged this Sunday. For context, I injured my left pinky badly when I was a child and it had to be amputated. I've always been self-conscious about my left hand and refuse to wear anything on it. If I wear rings, watches and/or bracelets, it's always on my right. When we first tried the rings we got, she put it on my left hand. It felt weird and told her I'd be more comfortable wearing it on my right. She said to just try it for a few weeks and I will get used to it. So I've tried wearing a ring that I already had on my left hand for a month, but it didn't get less weird for me and it was uncomfortable. 2 weeks ago I told her again that I'd be more comfortable wearing on my right and she reluctantly agreed. Well, this morning she told me I need to wear it on my left because there is vein that runs from to the left ring finger to the heart. I tried reaching a compromise with her and told her she can put it on my left hand during the ceremony and I'll keep wearing it for the whole party, and afterwards I will start wearing it on my right. I assured her that I would not love her less just because I am not wearing it on a finger that doesn't have a vein to the heart. She refused my compromise and sarcastically suggested that I don't wear it at all because why even wear rings, because it's not like we are getting engaged or want to get married in the future or anything. All veins bring blood back to the heart. What a stupid myth that is so easily debunked. Not the asshole at all. What a ridiculous hill to die on. Not the asshole. Also, while the left hand is customary for wedding rings in the US, there are a number of countries, Germany, Russia, Spain, among others, where the right hand is typical. What makes you comfortable should be more important than on what hand your wedding ring is worn. Not the asshole that is a myth. There isn't a vein that runs from your heart to that finger. Not the asshole. Poles and some other Eastern Europeans traditionally use the right. This is stupid. I mean hell, my boyfriend doesn't plan on wearing his after the wedding day and I'll frequently be without one for work, so. Woman shrugging. Your fiancé is either very young or deeply insecure. Not the asshole. You have an excellent reason, and what I thought was a fair compromise. I think yours is the small request, and I can't figure out why she doesn't understand where you're coming from. Not the asshole. I was raised Orthodox Christian, so everyone wore their wedding rings on their right hands. Moses parted the sea with his right hand. God created the earth with his right hand, blah blah blah. Your fiancé is wrong. BTW. The Romans started the tradition of the left-hand engagement ring because they believed in vena amoris, which in the 2000+ years sounds has been thoroughly discredited. Doesn't every vein in your body run to your heart? Am I the asshole for turning away a busload of grannies? My wife and I, 34M, live in an lovely old farmhouse, dated as far back as 1624, at the edge of our village. Our entire neighborhood consists of the same kind of farmhouses. Most of them, including ours, are protected landmarks. This part of the village is quite lovely with all the thatched roof farmhouses dotted around with meadows in between. So naturally tourists love it. There are numerous hiking and cycling routes going past our home. I think I've ended up in a lot of families' vacation photo albums while working in the garden. But that's okay, it's what you can expect when buying such a property. Yesterday I heard our dog barking and she wouldn't stop, so I went to check it out. I found a literal busload of elderly, around the age of 70, walking all over our garden and looking in through an open door. I was quite surprised, so I asked if I could help them. Oh no, we're just looking about. It turned out it was some kind of group outing that had lunch in the restaurant nearby and were taking a stroll before moving on with the bus. So I told them this was private property and asked them to leave. To which they responded, "But there is no access forbidden sign." So I asked her if she had such a sign on her driveway. Of course the answer was no. For clarity, I live in northwestern Europe. Access forbidden signs on domestic properties are really uncommon, especially when you're within a town, and basically say, "I'm a hermit and don't like social interaction." To make matters worse, while I was trying to herd the people from my property, a woman from the group come up the driveway and tripped on a wire we have across the driveway to keep the dog on our property. She had a wound on her chin, so I took her inside to get cleaned up and put a band-aid on the wound. When I walked her out, about 10 minutes later or so, they were still muttering how inhospitable I was, etc. I don't think it's weird to turn away strangers walking through your garden, but a busload of grannies seem to think otherwise. Am I the asshole? P.S. Please don't get into the legal side of things. American laws and customs don't apply here. There is absolutely no way I'm responsible for the wound of the lady that fell. There will be no suing whatsoever. Not the asshole. They had no right to be on your property or refuse to leave when asked. You did more than you were obliged to in cleaning up the wound. Not the asshole. Good grief, the entitlement. That's your property. It's not a national heritage site for people to explore. I live rurally in England. My house is in a field that backs into the woods. A few people have fucked up by walking round the farmer's field thinking they can get into the woods. You can't. There's a huge dike that unless you're an Olympic athlete you ain't jumping, and end up pushing through the hedge and onto my drive. I'm relatively polite and point out this is private property and they need to move off. Most apologize and run along. You get the odd one who get RC about trespass laws etc. until I point to the giant private property TRESSPASSERS will be prosecuted sign and ask if the police should handle this instead, face with rolling eyes. Not the asshole. You got an entitled bunch of grannies. If the situation was reversed I'd put good money on them being less than polite when telling you to leave their property. I don't know anywhere that it's acceptable to roam and look inside someone's private residence and grounds without an invitation. Not the asshole. They were incredibly rude and presumptuous on your hospitality. The polite thing would have been to knock on your door and to ask for permission to walk around. I'd just put in a sprinkler system for the lawn and plants and turn it on from inside and just claim it's on a timer. Not the asshole is someone who grew up in a touristy area in the UK and therefore had a lot of jobs in that sector for a long time. I know exactly the entitled kinds of people that you're talking about. They pretend that they don't understand you because they know that what they're doing is morally wrong. If it were me, I would find a private property sign to put up from now on. It can also be designed to match the aesthetic of your house if you don't want it to look ugly. I know you say that signs are rare in northwestern Europe, but a lot of houses in my area have them, unfortunately, on their front gates or on their garden walls. Am I the asshole for revealing my salary and refusing to pay more for rent? I, 25M, have been sharing my apartment with my friend Alex for 4 years. About 2 months ago, Alex asked if I was willing to let a friend of his named Sophie move in with us. I agreed because I planned to make a down payment on a house and move out within 2 years. By having Sophie around, she could take my place and make it so that Alex does not have to worry about any increases in expenses. And #X200B. When Sophie moved in, things were good for 2 weeks until I had to leave for work. This was when she learned that I was a minor and leave for 2 weeks at a time. When I got back, my problems with her began when she would constantly talk about climate change. She would constantly try to educate us on how and why we should change our habits. The real frustration was when she started going after me and my job. She would constantly say that within 10 years I will have no job. This was accompanied by having this ridiculous and false notion that I am poor and work for minimum wage. To try and help me, she would constantly give me college program pamphlets and job postings to find a better job. And #X200B. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she brought her parents into this. Sophie made her parents think I am poor, which resulted in them calling me to discuss financial assistance. After declining their help and ending the call, I was absolutely livid. I then sat Sophie down and said that all her talk about my job, finances, and education is really pissing me off and to drop it. In response, she said that she is just trying to help someone worse off. This is when I snapped at her and not only told her my salary but proof I make 100 kelvins per year. I then flipped the tables on her and went after her degree in environmental justice. I said that it was worthless and she might as well start working at McDonald's to pay off her debt, as she will never get a real job. And #X200B. After our argument, we didn't really speak with each other until after I returned from my next work period. Upon returning this week, she started demanding I pay more for rent as I make more and that I should apologize for what I said to her. I refused and said that she doesn't like me or the arrangements, she is free to leave any time. And #X200B. Am I the asshole here? Ask her why she never offered to pay more rent than you do when she assumed you were basically destitute. Is it only okay to divide rent up based on income when it means other people would pay more than she does? Not the asshole at all. Not the asshole. More money doesn't mean you cover more bills for people who are housemates. I'd suggest to her she find a better job, and say you're just trying to help someone worse off. I have an environmental studies degree and you are not the asshole. And if your roommate had actually learned anything in college, she'd know that this is not how you address environmental issues. Not the asshole. Also, she is bonkers and clearly has nothing going on in her life, which is why she has ample free time to obsess over you. NTA. It's your apartment. And it doesn't base rent on salaries. She's just upset she's been caught out being condescending and realistically surprised you held off that long. What does your other roommate say about it given he invited her? Not the asshole. Important question though, where is Alex in all this?